Just about a mile from here, Minor Street crosses one of the more beautiful stretches of the Grass River. There are rapids rushing, an island with an old abandoned shack on it, and in the other direction, a corridor of blue and green studded with large boulders. But you can't enjoy the view without fear of being run over by a car. It turns out the Minor Street Bridge was built with no sidewalk. Whether we live in North Bangor or the North Bronx, we live in a car-centric culture. Much of our transportation infrastructure is made solely for the car. Car culture is the water we are swimming in, so much so that it is difficult to imagine an alternate world. Luckily, we do not deal with the worst of it. Sure, Friday afternoons have what I call Canton congestion. It is nothing compared to the traffic of Boston or Chicago, or for that matter, any other major urban area. Most of us have short commutes, sometimes on bucolic roads. When there is too much congestion and traffic, government officials are bound to build wider roads with more lanes. Contrary to intuition, however, building more lanes never solves the problem. It's because of induced demand, a term from economics. As supply increases, prices go down, more people want that commodity. As roads increase, congestion decreases for a short time, then even more people want to drive their cars. So if you build bigger roads to move more cars, you will have the same congestion because eventually more drivers will drive. Bigger roads with more lanes induce traffic. Bigger is not better. The key is to reduce demand. Now, I live 4/10 of a mile from this church, and it's not by mistake. It's something my wife and I planned for and wanted. I wanted to walk to church. We wanted our children to bike and walk to school. It is easy, therefore, to have one car. We live close to where I work. We save a lot of money on premiums of insurance, gas, repairs, and it's just better for the earth. As a person who prefers cycling and walking, I can tell you I'm in the minority. There are not many other walkers and cyclists, and with some of them being members of the church. If you are not a walker or a cyclist, I don't fault you, especially when nearly all of the infrastructure is built for cars. And much of the time, it's unsafe. The sidewalks of Canton are cracked. After rain, small lakes form, especially in front of Rajiv's house. They are often sidewalks, uneven tripping hazards, and in some spots the sidewalk just ends abruptly. On average, from my experience, half the cars don't stop for me when I try to cross in those spaced white lines. My youngest son almost got run over while crossing in the crosswalk with a walk signal. And I had a moment of primal dread. And I yelled out with such a pained, loud word, the truck screeched to a halt and didn't harm him. I can't say that word in church, but it starts with an M and ends with an ucker. Not using automobiles for transportation, you can participate in the gym of life. You save money and there's less pollution. And then there's the beauty of walking. There's the beauty of just seeing Rajiv and Rohan and saying namaste. chatting with Roger and Helen, smiling and waving to Lorraine, stopping mid-block to talk with Julie as she walks Finney. Walking and rolling builds community. Now, the Biden administration, California, GM, Ford, and even some environmentalists are telling us that the future is electric. EVs will take over at some point, they say. And the future, I think, should not only be electric, but eclectic. We should be talking more about reducing the demand for cars. We need to build infrastructures that promote biking, walking, and mass transit. Imagine a world that is built for people and not cars. And by the way, if built right, people with disabilities and the elderly can use electric scooters and wheelchairs safely and easily on sidewalks and off-street paths. So the best way to improve traffic, to cut pollution, to reduce car-related deaths is to get cars off the road. Less is better. And I can tell you this with certainty, this sermon is not endorsed by GM, Ford, Tesla, or Goodyear. There's a Court Street remodel in the make. It's about a half block away. It incorporates a lot of biker and pedestrian-friendly ideas. And there's a public hearing about this on September 28th at 6 p.m. Let's show up and support the new designs and structures that make our communities more livable, walkable, bikeable, and sustainable. The infrastructure we live in affects us. Infrastructure matters. Now imagine with me, you go about 10 miles east on route 11, and you come to the sprawling center that we call Walmart. Now, I beg your pardon for putting this hideous image in your head, but please envision that the land from Walmart to Aldi, envision that in your mind's eye. If you're not familiar with it, it's basically the same Walmart that is in every community. The Walmart parking lot is literally bigger than the store itself. Have you ever seen that parking lot full? I have never. We all know parking lots are not good for the environment, and like bigger roads, induce traffic, invite traffic. It's not necessarily Walmart's fault, though. Because of zoning laws, new developments require a certain amount of off-street parking spots per square feet. In fact, it would be illegal to build this church as it is because we do not have off-street parking. Okay, now let's return to the beauties of the Walmart parking lot. If you walk from the Walmart store through the parking lot, across the road to the Aldi, which no one does because it's unsafe and unsightly, you would have walked the same distance that I walk from my house to this church. Think about the square footage contained there, and now think of that same square footage in Canton or Potsdam. Think about how much more life is in the village, the community that's being formed, the cultural institutions where people live, the sidewalks, the fruits and vegetables grown in small gardens. The combined property values would dwarf that of Walmart's. Bigger parking lots are not better, and they are surely not sustainable. Our car culture is playing a big part in killing our planet. We all know that infrastructure is finite, that roads tend to last 20, maybe 30 years at best. So we need to be especially mindful of the future needs with which we are building infrastructure now. And it's the same thing with our congregation, starting with that first building in 1827, and then this beloved space in 1896, and a generation ago, the addition. We are grateful to those who had the wisdom, courage, and foresight to build a wonderful, sustainable, beautiful space. And because of our great Buildings and Grounds Committee, we are not in need of some big capital campaign at this moment. We are simply asking for sustainable giving to keep doing what we are doing. Structures do change, but some things remain the same. There is a human need to gather, to weekly celebrate life, to plunge into our cavernous depths, to know that we are part of something that will outlast our lives. It feels good to hear inspiring words, to sing together, to hear beautiful music, to actually do something together to make our world a better place. In our minds, we also have infrastructures. We have certain blockers and curbs that have just developed in our minds because of the capitalistic, individualistic, patriarchal, heterocentric, white supremacist, car-centric culture we live in. They're called neural pathways. They're a real thing, and they are not permanent, but sometimes they feel permanent. A lot of these infrastructures in our minds have been around for 20 to 30 years, engineered by the greater culture we live in. The pathways of our brains and environment can be redesigned and changed to become more sustainable. So let's not invest in bigger car-centric infrastructure. Let's invest in people. Let's invest in community. Let's invest in sustainability. Let's invest in each other. Let's invest in us. Healthy communities have shared spaces where we can meet face to face on equal terms. This congregation is one of the relationally based structures of our wider community. Let's invest in us. We turn to each other and something greater than ourselves to be able to do the work of living together. We turn to each other and something greater than ourselves to be both creative and grounded in a tradition. We turn to each other and that which is greater than ourselves to be both spiritual and rational. Our structure goes beyond pews and pulpits to people, that great potential in each and every person. So during these Canvas conversations that are coming up, it's a way to reconnect again with each other, an opportunity to reinvest in people and planet-centered structures. We have in front of us a great opportunity, a chance to build a better world here, now, with each other. When we invest in the structure of us, we are investing in the cause of justice. We are investing in the happiness of togetherness. We need the structure of a caring community. We need the structure that is community focused. We need the structure of love. We need the structure of this congregation. We can build it, and we are building it. Let's invest in paths of peace, sidewalks of serenity, structures that create community. We have built it, and we will continue to build it. Let's invest in structures of quiet stillness, invest in structures of serene, sacred space. Together, We can reduce the demands of a patriarchal, heteronormative, capitalistic culture and induce the demands of love. When we build and invest in the structure of Unitarian Universalism, we reduce the demands of individualism and car-centric culture and induce the spirit of beloved community. It's not cars, it's not bigger roads, it's not bigger parking lots that give us a lasting happiness. It's the relationships we cultivate. It's the communities we form and participate in. When we invest in this community, we are investing in us. I invite you to be generous in this investment. We've had some leaders in generosity die in the past couple years. We also have some leaders in generosity moving away. That is the natural flow of a healthy congregation if others step up their generosity of time, treasure, and talent. Let's make sure our future bridges always have people in mind. Together, let's build those paths of peace, sustainable streets, highways of hope, freeways that lead to true freedom. And together, let us all induce the beloved community. Amen. So may it be.